this. We're gonna need an icebreaker for this one. Can you guess which one of these is female? That is absolutely correct. It is both. You may know the hyena ironically from the infamous movie The Lion King, but in this video we'll be bringing to light some of the little known facts of the hyena queen. With that, we're gonna need a little bit of background though. To start off with, the spotted hyena species are a matriarchal society, meaning the alpha females are the ones in charge. The female hyenas are bigger, stronger, and meaner than their male counterparts. With that, a male is always submissive to any female or else they'll be punished. A sign of submission though from any member of the pack to the alpha female means erecting their penis or their pseudo-penis, allowing her to basically get all up in their business. She will sniff, lick, or make them roll over to show that she is top dog, or in this case, hyena. The spotted hyena species have some of the most interesting reproductive hardware to date, carrying around a pseudopenis and a pseudoscrotum, making it hard to tell the difference between a male and a female. But why do these females carry around the same looking tools as a male? So a theory for that sexual dominant characteristic is just that, dominance. Females are the one in control for this species, but what happens when they mate? Or better yet, when they give birth through their elongated clitoris? Not only does this topic raise some serious questions for anyone looking at my recent browser history, the spotted hyena's anatomy makes for a very unique reproductive and endocrine system evolutionarily. These female danglers are unlike anything you'll find on Adam and Eve. Though contrary to what you may believe, this is no baby water slide. The gestational period for these cubs is 110 days, and no doubt the mother spends every second mentally preparing herself to push out each 1 kilogram hairball of teeth and nails through her 1-inch canal. Imagine shoving a few pineapples through an empty Bounty Quicker Picker upper tube. With that mechanism, it makes sense that the hyenas are only fertile 3 days out of the entire year. To make one of these Powerpuff Pups, you'll need sugar, spice, and absolutely nothing nice. For that, we have this nifty recipe. As for most living things, we'll need a little bit of sperm, but from these photos, and even with a pretty wild imagination, it may not be clear what's really going on here. So to draw it out, the hyena will be using what I like to call the risque Chinese finger trap method. Steps are as followed. The female will retract her pseudopenis inside of herself. A simple Google search of how female hyenas mate will tell you it's much like pushing up a shirt sleeve, because we're about to get down and dirty. This disappearing act is part of what makes the females completely selective to whomever she wants to mate with, though there's still some difficulties. The male will have to do a bit of advanced choreography, getting his entire rear between her hind legs to reach her now slightly more accessible opening. This technique can take a few months for the males to even get the opportunity, let alone successfully complete. If it's still not clear, don't feel too bad. It took a hormone test, an ultrasound, and 4 years for a zoo professionals in Japan to discover that they were actually trying to mate 2 males together. After a successful demonstration of the birds and the bees, the journey to motherhood begins at gestational day 1. While the mother begins with a healthy dose of progesterone, in the womb she pays back the fetus by marinating it in an unorthodox amount of hormones. Once she's added too much, she'll add a pinch more. All the ingredients can be found in the cabinets of the mother's adrenal glands, located on the ovaries right now. This is important because it means that it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl to be, you're getting a fire hydrant dousing of androstenedione, along with testosterone, androgen, estradiol, and dihydrotestosterone regardless. All of which are predominantly known hormones to either form or cultivate manhood in most species, except maybe estrogen. But even as humans, we produce these too in pregnancy, but not nearly in the same amounts. Could you imagine? As a result of this androgen bath, both sexes end up with what looks like male baby-making equipment. The boys bearing the standard equipment, the girls having extremely enlarged clitoris that resembles a penis, and fused protuberant vaginal labias that look like a plump pair of testicles by gestational day 30. After gestational day 30, though, the battle of the sexes begin. For the men, expression of AMH in the Sertoli cells and enzymes required for androgen synthesis in the Leydig cells, fetal test starting to develop cords. This is kickstarted from the hyena's placental aromatase. Around this time, the fetal testicular differentiation and androgen synthesis is occurring, meaning finally some male-only formation of manhood in this species. The females, on the other hand, are running a little late, as usual. and their anatomy is very unorganized right now, with little evidence of any stereogenic enzymes, and there's no stabilization of the Wolvian ducts. Right now, it's just all of the piping with none of the plumbing. By gestational day 50, the boys are furthering their fully development of the seminiferous cords. Developing testes, the males seem to be maturing early for once. Though, the Mullerian and the Wolferian ducts are both present in both of the sexes. Right now, it seems a bit odd that both sexes seem to have the wiring for both sexes, even though differentiation has begun. At gestational day 80, the actual wiring gets done. It's pretty late, but, better late than never. In the female hyena, the Wolverian duct regresses and the Mullerian ducts are retained and form the uterine horns. In the males, the opposite is going on. The Wolferian duct is beginning to coil and form the epidermis, and the Mullerian duct has completely regressed. At this time, the cubs are able to start producing their own spices. When the fetus decides that they've had enough, they release a spice bomb of their own, a mixture of hormones producing adrenal cortisol, starting the birthing process. Circling back, these cubs are about 1 kilogram each, fully teethed and angry, coming out the same way they came in. The only hormone ready to help the mother right now is oxytocin and estrogen to help the skin soften and stretch. If only it was an epidural instead. Though, in completion, if the estrogen isn't enough to stretch the canal to push out these cubs, they end up suffocating within it. This is actually very common, unfortunately. And even as these cubs emerge from the mother's testosterone-laced uterus, they are already belligerent. So wired to fight, they immediately begin attacking one another. This often results in the death of one. Though, for the ones who do survive, they are treated for the next 12 to 16 months with the finest of all fine breast milks, containing the highest fat and protein content of any terrestrial carnivore.